if you've just joined us, this is still Good Morning Kenya. Thank you for sticking with us. My name is Aguko. We are talking about matters concerning education in the country today. I am with Janefrances Nzisa Kyalo. All right. Today he is a professional tutor and a communications specialist as we talk about matters concerning education in the country. So Jane, just in your opening remarks, for somebody who's meeting you today for the first time, let somebody know what you do, because I'm seeing you do, you're in the education space, international education for that matter.
Oh, so my name is Janefrances Kyalo. I'm a teacher by profession, having done a Bachelor of Education Science from Mount Kenya University. I specialize in mathematics and chemistry. I'm also a communication specialist working with the ODM party. And I'm also a student.
Yes,
at the University of Nairobi. I'm doing my master's in public administration.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
I'm also doing my master's. I hope we will graduate together.
Oh, interesting. I hope so.
Seeing this is received greetings. I'm seeing Peter Otuoma has sent greetings.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. You know him, huh?
I honestly don't.
But he knows you.
Yeah.
He works together with you guys at the ODM offices. You still work?
No, I don't know him in person. That is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, in person?
Yeah, in person. We're not that close, yeah.
All right, but he still passes greetings and his regards. And you're still with ODM. I'm looking at the stand of ODM as a party and in regards to matters concerning education. Do you feel like these particular protests that took place yesterday are influencing the education sector positively, coming from the position of an expert who is in the field of education? Do you feel like it's actually progressive?
Actually, I feel like there's a disadvantage, there's an advantage of it, yeah? The reason why we had that maandamano is because of what is happening in the country. Look at the way everything is so expensive. With even 1,000 shillings, you cannot survive, yeah? 1,000 shillings right now is close to nothing. And you cannot study on an empty stomach. That is the point. Yeah, you cannot study on an empty stomach. So the reason why we had maandamano is, for one, to lower the cost of living for Kenyans. You see the way the electricity bills are so expensive. You buy electricity worth 500 shillings and you get electricity worth 175, meaning all that the remaining amount of money went to the tax. Yeah. So basically, the reason why we had maandamano is to lower the cost of living and to ensure that Kenyans are not struggling as much as they're struggling right now. With the government introducing the subsidies and you know, such stuff. But now on the other side, when it comes to the education, maandamano happened only once, or rather yesterday, and that affected the students that were going back to school. But
we are seeing an instance where it might happen every Monday. We have day scholars.
Oh yeah, we have day scholars.
Yeah, we have day scholars, and I'm looking at the aspect of the curriculum also being covered. I'm looking at the aspect of the safety of these kids, students.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your boss, Honorable Raila Odinga, has the interests of the Kenyan youths at heart, even as he promotes these particular protests? Yes, he's talking about high cost of living.
Yeah, of course he does.
He does?
Yeah. It does.
The education sector still?
Yeah. I am sure in your right senses you will not just wake up and in a day you want to spoil the life of these kids, considering, you know, you're doing maandamano every other day. Of course there's the advantage and the disadvantage of maandamano. Yeah. So that is one of the negative effects of the maandamano, but with time, of course, we will see the fruits of the maandamano.
With time?
With time, yes.
Fruits will be seen?
Definitely.
So you're positive that at the end of the day, Kenyans will smile regardless of what took place yesterday and what might take place next Monday?
If you remember last week, when Azimio wrote that letter, they were saying we are requesting to be given security on Monday because it's a public holiday and we expect the police to protect the citizens, to protect us. Yeah. And nobody was believing that. Everyone was like, you know what, Raila is just laughing, nothing like this can happen, and it really happened. And I feel like if you put pressure on the government, they will definitely heed to what we are requesting. And that makes me think, you remember Honorable William Ruto yesterday, he was saying he's ready to have a conversation concerning whatever we're doing right now. Yeah, meaning he also understands that Kenyans are really suffering, Kenyans are really struggling to make a living.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, wow. That it is touching, considering the fact that I was seeing how students who had gone to school yesterday had to be brought back home.
Back home, yes.
Yeah, and I know you saw that.
Yeah, I saw that.
And parents who are actually saying, you know what, we are not okay with how the state of the nation is.
Yeah.
And students had to be brought back home for their safety.
Yes.
While there are those who actually had to stay in school. Regardless of that small number, education still had to proceed.
Yeah.
And of course, we hope for the best, wishing that things will calm down. And maybe your recommendations to the government from where you sit, but now in particular, moving forward, what is the solution towards these challenges we are facing as a country?
In the previous regime, we used to have subsidies. We used to buy unga at least at a cheaper price. Right now, things are so expensive. Fuel prices are going up every other day. And, you know, we cannot keep blaming Russia and, you know, the outside world for the high prices. You know, the government needs to protect us. It needs to bring back the subsidies. We see how is the government able to afford paying 50 CSs, you know? And yet we have Kenyans dying of hunger. They cannot afford food. We have Kenyans suffering, youths looking for jobs, you know. Yeah, so I feel like there's something that the government can do to cater for what we are going through. Either reduce the number of CASs and other public officials that we don't need. You know, we cannot keep carrying carrying joyriders in government and paying them for nothing.
But remember, the president said that the effects of this particular government, the solutions may not be felt immediately. It will take time, according to what the president said, that they have a plan to bring the cost of living down, the fuel prices down, and the economy to ensure that it goes up again. But it will take time. Don't you feel like we need to be patient with the president and with the Kenya Kwanza government?
We be patient with citizens dying of hunger. You know, you cannot just sit and watch your fellow citizens in Turkana in northern Kenya dying because of lack of food and water. When in real sense we are saying, you know, we are trying to make life easy for Kenyans. You know, we also need to have, as much as we have the long-term plans, because that one I understand is a long-term plan for the president and his team, we also need to have a short-term plan to cater for what we are going through right now. Yes.
So, yes, short-term plan is there. Do you feel like Kenyans will turn up again next Monday?
Oh, yes, I am sure.
They will turn up again?
They will turn up again.
Will it be a holiday again?
Let Baba say that.
Only Baba can call a holiday when the Constitution doesn't recognize a day as a holiday.
And it happens, yes. Makes me think, who is the president here? William Ruto is the president according to papers, yeah?
The president is
Honorable Raila Odinga.
The president of the Republic of Kenya is William Samoei Ruto.
According to papers.
Not according to papers, according to the Constitution.
Well, yeah, or Constitution. Papers too.
According to the election, according to IEBC, according to what the Constitution has acknowledged, he is the rightful president, voted.
But the fact is, you know, people were underrating Raila Odinga. From the interview he had last week, I think it was on TV 47. Yeah, people were underrating him. People people thought he was bluffing. But now from yesterday, I know they can see the seriousness of the matter. And also the Kenyans supporting Kenya Kwanza, UDA, and the other parties, yeah, in Kenya Kwanza. I know they can also feel whatever we are going through, and given a chance, trust me, they will still join us in the same.
Who will join you in the same? UDA?
Yes, citizens, yes.
You
know, the fact is this, William Ruto got 7,000 votes. The number of votes he got, let me not quote the exact number. Okay. He got a certain number of votes. Raila Odinga got a certain number of votes. We still have Kenyans who didn't vote. So meaning, if you take the number of votes that Raila Odinga got, plus the number of voters that didn't vote, you realize that Kenyans are really going through a hard time. Most of the population are the people who do not agree with William Ruto. And as I said, sometimes back on my Twitter, I said, you know, the first thing that William Ruto ought to do is to unite the nation. But the numbers still don't lie. There is no way of establishing whether those who did not vote supported or did not support the president. Then why did they? We're assuming, because why didn't they vote? If they supported William Ruto, they should have voted, yeah. And if they supported Raila, they ought to have voted for Raila. But they didn't. So we are assuming the reason why they didn't go is because, you know, it's a 50-50 thing. All right, let's take a break, and then after this break we'll be talking about international education. Moving on from matters concerning the protests aftermath. After this break, let's talk about international education, and you'll define to us what international education, what are we talking about here? Yes. Cindy, yes, let's take that break. We'll be back with more right here on Good Morning Kenya. All right, welcome back. This is Good Morning Kenya. Let's talk about matters concerning international education right here. Moving on from matters concerning the aftermath of the election, not election, but protests that took place yesterday. I am with Janefrances Kyalo here, who is a professional tutor and communications specialist. Now, Jane, let's talk about international education. Just by definition, first of all, what exactly are we looking into when we use the word international education? So when we talk about international education, we are looking at the kind of education that is provided all over the world. Yeah, that is uniform curriculum or syllabus that is taught all over the world. In most countries within the world. Okay, okay. Yes. So as a country, do you feel like we are moving towards that particular direction? Yes, I feel like that. All right. So the CBC, is it different from that? They are not so much different if you compare, because CBC tends to focus on the general well-being of a student. And, you know, we don't really focus on how good you are in books. We tend to focus on if you're good in music, you're good in art, you're good in you know, such, different stuff. Yeah. So that is what CBC focuses on, and that is also what the international education focuses on. Because if you look at the curriculum, the kind of subjects that are offered, you have an option of picking art, you have an option of picking music, and you know, playing different instruments and such stuff. So I think they are well correlated. There are similarities. Yeah, there are similarities in the two curriculums. So this conversation of saying no to the CBC is actually downgrading the education system in the country. Well, what I feel is CBC was a good decision. The problem is it was not very well implemented. They did it so fast. Okay. Yeah, okay. We needed to take time, you know, because if you look at what is happening right now, we're talking about junior secondary, yeah? And these schools don't even have classes. These kids, they finished grade 6 and they do that exam and they have nowhere else to go, because where will you take them? You cannot say you're taking them to a secondary school which actually doesn't even have enough classes for the students they're having. So the unraveling of it was, an unveiling of it was what we did not execute properly. Yeah, it was not well executed. We needed to have taken a bit of some time, did research, and let the government do investment in the same. All right. Yeah. So how important is education in international development? I'm looking at that particular sector and the role it plays to in regards to the international standards of education and international development. Basically, when you talk about international development, what do you mean? I'm looking at how every country correlates
interacts and you know, communicates with themselves. There was a conversation, remember, that was taking place a few weeks ago. Should Africa have one language? Right. So I'm looking at international standards of education. In your view, can education play a role in ensuring that there is cohesion internationally?
Yeah, we talk about regional integration. In regional integration, we have various ways in which we can integrate some of these countries.
Yes.
Say, for example, economically, you remember there was a discussion about bringing one currency for the whole of Africa.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
One currency, they talk about one language for the whole of Africa.
Yes.
So many things, unifying, cohesion.
Yeah, and I feel like education-wise, it can be a very good decision.
Yeah.
Because you see what's happening right now. If you go to most of the universities, go to Strathmore, go to ESIU, go to the University of Nairobi, Kenyatta, and the like, so many students coming from the different countries. Look at South Sudanese. There's so many. We have so many Rwandese. We have so many people coming to Kenya because they value Kenyan education more than they do in their own countries. Yeah. So I feel like it plays a very big role in ensuring we have that regional integration and the international development. Yes. How
far do you see as a country, as Kenya? How far do you see us going, and how far have we reached? Let's do a stock take of the education sector in the country. Do you feel like we are making good steps forward in ensuring that there is that regional integration at the end of the day?
Yeah, I feel like we are doing a good job.
Yes.
First being the implementation of the CBC. Meaning the government came to realization that 844 was focusing more on the books and more on the ability of a student to focus on, you know, studying. And we know not everyone is well, you know, not everyone is good in books. So that means 844 focused more on white collar jobs. When people out here are they have different abilities. That is why you see maybe you get a graduate and they're doing some odd job out there, and this person will tell you they have a master's in. Yeah, they didn't go to school to learn. Like, let me talk about, you know, when I went to school, when I finished my Form 4 in 2013, sorry, I went to Strathmore to do law.
Law?
Yes.
How did you end up in...
I didn't even finish a semester, seriously. I didn't. I quit school. I went back home, and my parents were like, you know what? If you don't want to go, if you don't want to go back to school, then the decision is yours. So I had to stay home for a couple of months before I went back to do CPA. And having done CPA, my accounting, that is, I call it accounting degree, quote unquote. Yeah. I did CPA and have never practiced all of my life.
You've never practiced. So you started law, did it for a semester, dropped it, and you'll tell me why how long it took for you to realize that, and why you did not encourage yourself to say, let me just try, as many Kenyans do. Went to CPA,
I did it.
Got to CPA 4, all right, dropped it. I don't know if you're planning to proceed.
I'm not.
You're not, and now you're in communications.
I'm in education.
Education?
Yes.
But at ODM, you're
in the communications department.
Communications department.
Yes.
I'm looking at education, communication, CPA, law.
Well, there's the mistake parents make. I'm not saying my parents made a mistake, but you see, when you're telling your kid to choose, or you're telling them to go to the university and do this degree because you feel like you have influence on them, you know, that is, I don't think that is a good idea. You should let your kid, let your daughter or son make a choice of what they feel is best for them. Don't make a choice for your children.
Did somebody help you in this?
No.
You chose it on your own?
On the education?
No, in terms of what you did before. You lacked that person who can guide you through that process.
I lacked that advice. Yeah, I lacked that advice. So that is why you see I made a lot of you know, mistakes. I can't say they're mistakes really, but you know, I was all over before I came to realize, you know, I'm good in this and I have to stick in that. Yes.
Did CPA now? You've managed to get to education, and I'm looking at the reasons why you would choose to come up with this organization, with the system where you've chosen to, be a tutor, a professional tutor for that matter. Why did you choose that path?
Because one thing, when somebody goes to the university to do education, the main idea is to get employed by the Teachers Service Commission. You have the security, job security, you can access loans, you have pension. But then if you look at the other side, we normally don't have many teachers teaching international curriculum. But also you cannot just jump into something that you don't know. So you have to equip yourself well enough. You have to do research on the kind of education that you want to offer and then venture into it. That is what I did. Having done my CPA up to Section 4, having done my Bachelor of Education Science from Mount Kenya University, I got opinions from a couple of friends about the international education. And I learned about the Certificate of International Curriculum that is offered at Riara University, which now it's just a 3-month course that you do, and you do the exam and get the certificate. There's also another one offered at the Catholic University, which is a bit more expensive, but it's more or less the same thing.
So it's a degree or diploma certificate in international...
it's a certificate in international curriculum, something that you do. I can't call it a PGD, I can't call it a postgraduate diploma, because it's just a 3-month course that you do. It's you just study for the 3 months and you do the exam and you get the certificate. So that is what I did myself. And then I looked at the market. We have so many students out there struggling with the subjects that I'm teaching, mathematics, chemistry. So I saw a loophole. I saw
a gap you can fill.
A gap that I can get into, and that is what I did. I took the risk. I resigned from my teaching career. I used to teach at a school in Nairobi. I resigned, I went into this. Yes.
Wow, that was bold.
Yeah.
But that was bold.
I know.
Were you sure when you were resigning that it would turn out well?
Well, I had a number of students, of course. But not as many as I do right now, because like right now I have students in the UK, I have students in US, and of course in Kenya. But I teach both curriculums. I teach the international curriculum, I teach the 844 curriculum.
Now, when you teach the international curriculum and at the same time teach the 844 as you mentioned, have you managed to feel any weaknesses and fault lines in either education systems that need to be worked on?
Yeah, in 844 we have a lot of workload. You saw what happened to the students that did their KCSE in the last sitting. I honestly, these kids really struggled. They could cover a whole booklet, a whole syllabus within a very short period of time. And in real sense, for instance, if you're to cover the Form 4 syllabus, it needs to take you a year. But that is not what was happening. We saw how students were on tours, and the KCSE is still the same paper. So I felt like they were so overburdened and they were so overworked. Yeah.
So the international curriculum, does it help to better equip students in a manner that is more improved or better than the 844 system? Does it put somebody at a better pedestal?
I will compare the two curriculums in terms of exam setting.
Yeah.
When you look at a year 11 paper, that is, I will compare the year 11 with the current Form 3. They do their O-level exam, which is the year 11 exam in Form 3. If you compare it to the 844.
Yeah.
And the exams are so favorable. They will favor a weak student and they will favor a bright student, in the sense that a weak student will not get a 0, or they will not get a 1 or a 2 or a 3. I mean, they tend to be very simple questions to favor all students. And also there's an option of choosing. We have we have 2 types of international, I will focus on 2 types of the international curriculum. There's the Dexel, which is the Pearson, and then we have the Cambridge. At Dexel, we have the foundation papers and we have the higher tier. Meaning, if your student is so bright, you feel you're so confident with your student, you can choose that, the higher tier, or you can choose the foundation. In the Cambridge, we have the extended and the core. If your student is a bit struggling, you can choose the core, which means questions in the core papers tend to be simpler than questions in the extended papers. Yeah, so there's still an option of making a choice, and also you don't have to do like in our 844 system. You're supposed to do either 7 or 8 subjects, minimum 7, maximum 8, right? Yeah. For them, you can make a choice of even 6, and you don't have to do them all in one sitting.
Do they have a minimum?
Yeah, 6.
6.
Yeah, okay. But you see, you can do them. I mean, if you choose to do your exam in May, June, you do some papers, and then the other papers you do them in November, December, because it's just registration and booking the exam.
So in terms of international education, the 844 needs a revamp. Therefore, we need to move to the CBC that at least caters for the needs of every student.
Yes.
Interesting, interesting. So in your line of work, have you managed to get through and see some of the success stories that you can look into? Those things that inspire you, look at them and you're like, wow, wow. They put a smile on your face and you say, this is something I will be doing every single day. Yeah,
you see, there's always that satisfaction that comes with a student doing so well in the exams. You go teach a student and you know they are really, really struggling. You have to start from scratch, teaching them simple stuff, as simple as simplifying fractions.
Oh, okay.
And these students do so well in exams, they get A's and A+. I mean, that is a satisfaction that, I mean, it gives you that motivation to continue doing that, and that is what I enjoy doing. Yes.
Are people receptive of this particular education system?
Yeah, but now the problem is it's a bit expensive. It's quite expensive.
All right.
Yeah.
That many who are enrolling come from a certain class of the community.
Yes. Yes. Now that is the challenge that we are facing. It's quite expensive, and most of these students come from the
middle upper class.
Middle upper class, yes.
All right. I'm just guessing there. So how best can we ensure that it is an education system that the Wanjiko, the common mwananchi, the hustler, remember it's a bottom-up, which I don't know if you subscribe to though. How can you ensure that, you know what, this education system is something that is accessible to the common mwananchi?
Well, we have CBC, which is more, we say it's more or less the same. Of course, it's not up to standard. I can't say they are quite at par, but they are so similar. Yeah. So I feel like with the CBC being implemented, we are making steps towards reaching where the other countries offering some of these things are, some of these education systems are.
All right. Yeah. Now, one more thing. I'm looking at the challenges that we face, CBC, 844, international curriculum. Some of the complaints that we always get during exams include exam cheating.
Yeah.
Does the international curriculum experience the same challenge?
Of course, it does. But we have very serious punishment, including being, expelled.
All right.
From, ever registering and booking an exam with them.
So if
in which you wouldn't even want to get there. Yeah. But you see, why would you cheat in an exam where you're even given choices? It's like ABC. I'm
looking at what you've said. You've said that the international curriculum does not classify students in terms of the strong ones or the weak ones.
No, of course, I didn't choose, does not classify. But you see, there's an option. You as a parent, how your student is, if they're weak or if they're bright and the areas they're struggling in. So, these students, they can, if I know I have to do an exam, I know I have to prepare well for that exam. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think, I cannot say they don't classify students as strong students or weak students, but there's an option that you make. There's an option that there's a choice that you make on the kind of paper you want to take.
One that suits.
The one that suits you, exactly. The one that suits you.
But the problem is, even if you choose a particular paper that suits you, some still end up cheating on that particular paper, of which you said there are consequences.
Yeah, there are consequences, but in my years of experience, I've not experienced any I've not seen any of my students cheating.
Ah,
yes,
that's a good move.
Yes.
And of course, I want us to bring this conversation to a close, and maybe give you time to have a final word to talk to Kenyans watching you this morning. What would be your parting shot, Jane, as you bring this conversation to a close?
As parents, I don't know whether you're a parent. I don't know whether you subscribe to that.
I am a parent to be.
All the best.
Parent to be.
So there's a mistake that parents do. When you tell your student, I was good in this, I was really good in math, why are you not good? I mean, I think you need to give your student, as much as you're advising your students to do well in their studies, you need to also let them make their choices, you know. Stop comparing them with you, because they will feel intimidated. And they can also be demotivated by the fact that they're not doing well in a certain area, and yet you felt like you were good in the same.
Because parents also want their children to live up to some standards.
Yes. Of course, every parent wants the best for their kids. But you know, you also need to let them make a choice.
All right.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jen, for coming.
Thank you.
I wish you the best. If someone wants to get a hold of you, how can they do that? How can they do so?
Oh, I'm in social media. My Twitter is Jane Kyalo, at Janef Kyalo. Janefrances Kyalo, but no. Janef Kyalo, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Janef Kyalo.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming. I wish you the best. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Inspiring people. You mentor, you tutor mathematics.
I tutor mathematics. I have a colleague that we work together, Mr. Duncan Musioka. He teaches chemistry, biology. I teach mathematics, chemistry.
All right.
And also other teachers teaching the other subjects.
All right, and we wish them the best. Keep doing what you're doing. And we know that at the end of the day, let's meet at the professional level where we're calling each other Daktari Professor.
Sure.
And that is what brings us to the end of this conversation right on Good Morning Kenya. We were talking about the state of education, and before that we highlighted some of the aftermaths of the protests that took place yesterday. Well, without further ado, let's bring this conversation to a close. My name is Aguko, but keep tuned in to KBC for more of our programming coming up throughout the whole or the rest of the day. May God bless you. May God bless the work of your hands. This is Good Morning Kenya.